So before we put the inlet manifold back on, I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but we've got a problem with the coolant level sensor. It keeps showing up that it's got a low level on the display inside the car. So what we're going to do is whip out the reservoir expansion tank. You can see I've already disconnected the pipes there. Now to get this out, there's a little clip down there, little black clip, you can just about see in the video. We need to remove this clip, and then what we need to do is remove the battery, and then we can slide the reservoir out, and then we can have a look at the connector and the sensor, which are located in the bottom of the reservoir. Now, before we disconnect the battery on these cars, because it's a convertible, the windows are just tucked up behind the door sill or the roof sill, and when you open the door, you can see there it just drops a couple of inches or an inch just to clear the door frame. So obviously if you disconnect the battery, this won't happen. So you won't be able to get the doors undone, or you risk damaging the windows. So what I'm going to do is just crack both the doors open so that the windows drop. So we'll do the passenger side as well before we disconnect the battery, and that way we'll be able to get in and out of the car. So just whipping the terminals off the battery now. I always do the negative terminal first, because that way you reduce the risk or eliminate the risk of shorting your spanner out on any other metalwork when you're touching the positive terminal, and obviously at worst causing some sparks, or sorry, at best causing some sparks, at worst causing a fire or maybe even burning yourself. I have known people's watches to get welded between the bodywork and the positive terminal and get red hot and burn their wrists. So just a little safety precaution there. So once the terminals are connected, down there is a little 1/2 inch or 13mm bolt which holds the battery clamp in that you can see there. So we need to whip that out. And once that's out, there's the hole that it came from, and there's the clamp itself, and obviously you can see now that we've removed the battery from the vehicle. Put the clamp somewhere safe. So the next thing to do is to tackle that little plastic clip that I showed you. We'll take a shot of that from a different angle. I think it's right down there. So there it is, you can just see the edge of it there. It is a little bit tricky to get out. I spent some time here with a couple of screwdrivers, just trying to prise it loose. It's one of these things you don't really want to break, because probably getting hold of a new one would be a complete pain. As you can see, struggling quite a bit to get that out. Sliding the reservoir back a little bit does give you a little bit more room. But what you need to do is just prise the side away from the bracket. There's a little hole in the bracket where a clip goes into, and then lever the actual clip itself away. Like I say, a little bit tricky because you've got restricted access there. And I think I'll resort to giving it a little tap with the screwdriver, and off comes the clip. So there's the clip that we're trying to get out of, and you can see the little tab inside there that was located in the bracket. So with that off, we should now be able to slide the reservoir forward, and there it is. Then we just need to disconnect one of the electrical connectors off the bottom of the sensor. Again, a lot of the connectors on the cars are very similar. It looked like it should be able to push the tab down. But in the end, I'll resort to using a screwdriver, the flat blade of a screwdriver, just to prise the clip up and pull the connector free. So there we have it, the connector off. Now, quick examination reveals that it's obviously got moisture in it. You can see on the end there, on the right hand terminal, there's a lot of green corrosion and stuff around it. So hopefully that's our problem. We'll give that a clean, and also the connector inside the sensor itself, that's the sensor on the bottom of the reservoir. We'll give that a quick clean up, give it a squirt of some WD-40. And then a good brush with this is a stainless steel wire brush, I believe. Just try and get the one or two little bristles down inside the connector and give that a bit of a clean up and get some of that corrosion off. So now that's done, I'm going to just refit the reservoir. It's basically, or the header tank, it's basically a reversal of the removal procedure. You didn't see me take the pipes off, but they've got those lovely little spring clips on them that I had trouble with getting off the throttle body. If you remember in the previous video, they just need nipping with a large pair of pliers, and you can slide those back up the pipe. At this stage I'm going to leave the little plastic clip off just in case we need to remove this reservoir again and change the sensor, in case this doesn't fix our problem. Like I say, it's just the warning keeps coming up, coolant level low on the display on the computer inside the car, which is just really annoying me more than anything else, because I know it's not low. It's topped up. It was topped up quite well, right up to the maximum mark, but it still keeps coming up every now and again, and you reset it and you drive a little bit and it pops up again. I suppose the disadvantage of that also is that if it does drop low, you don't know whether it's going to be telling the truth or not. So I've just got a larger pair of grips on the bottom pipe. It is quite a bit bigger, the clip on here. You just need a pair of pump pliers or something just to get around that. We'll slide that into place. Clip the pipes back in the clips around the engine bay, keep them out of harm's way. And then we'll just reconnect the sensor. Obviously we can't test it yet because the battery's disconnected, and the engine's in bits, so we won't be able to check that. So now on with fitting the inlet manifold. Now if we look down here, I'll try and show you, this is the bottom inlet manifold, so that's the bottom half of it that stayed on the car. You can just see in there the two ports in each inlet hole, for want of a better word, and some little nuts from a mouse. Now the two ports are what gives the engine its title of a twin port engine. We'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a future video. So all I'm going to do now, I've got a scraper here, donkey's years old. Just holds a Stanley knife type blade, and just use that to scrape any gasket residue off of the manifold, and just make sure that's nice and clean, so the mating surfaces are clean, so that when we put a gasket on and nip it tight, we get a nice gas tight, airtight seal. So there's a new gasket in its nice shiny packet. Can't remember how much that was exactly. It wasn't expensive. I think it was about £10, £11, something like that. And there it is outside of the packet. You can see by that little tab on the left-hand side of the screen there that it'll only go on one way round. Now, I must admit, it was a little bit tricky to get on. I had a couple of goes at this, trying to work out how I was going to get that to sit on top of that bottom manifold while I put the top manifold in. Just making sure the surface is clean. I think there's some oil or something on there. I'll just give that another bit of a wipe over. So there we have our nice shiny, fully repaired, fully sealed, glued back together upper inlet manifold. So I'm trying the gasket on there now. I'm trying to work out how I was actually going to get that to stay in place. So I hoped here that I could drop the manifold in place and slide the gasket in between, but unfortunately that didn't work. The gasket just kept falling out. Then I realised that there were two little dowels. One stayed in the bottom lower manifold and the other one was stuck in the top one. So what I did was I pulled the dowel out of the upper manifold and fitted it into the lower manifold in the place it's supposed to go. So this now meant that there were two dowels in the lower manifold on which I could put the gasket. I'll just give it a little tap just to make sure it's in the hole properly. Don't want it falling out. And once that was done, I was able to just locate the gasket over the two dowels, and it stayed in place rather nicely. And it's just a case of dropping the manifold back into its place, making sure that located. The dowels were quite useful both being in the same half because it just enabled me to drop the manifold on, and that stayed in place. So now that's all done, it's just a matter of putting all the nuts and bolts in, tightening them all up and connecting up the pipe work. So with all nuts and bolts back in, it's time to move on to putting the throttle body back on. So there's a little paper gasket. I am reusing the old gasket at the minute. Might put a new one on at some point, but it's not in bad condition. Just checking the surface of the throttle body itself, the mating surface, just to make sure that that's all nice and clean, in good condition. Give it a fair chance of seating. So I'll drop that into position on top of the inlet manifold. However, it was this point I realised what a pain it was to get that pipe off at the back on the left hand side. So I decided to just lift it off and put the pipe back on, because it's just much easier to get to and much easier to get to all the clips and everything. Again, use a big pair of pliers just to nip that clip open and slide it up over the fitting just to hold the pipe in place. And once that's done, we can go ahead and drop the throttle body back on top of the inlet manifold. Just having a fiddle with a clip there again. Right, that's all done, and once again it's just a case of dropping all the bolts in the holes, tightening them up and putting the rest of the pipe work on. And with the throttle body fitted, it's now time to fit the ECU. And once again, it's just a case of dropping it in place, putting all the bolts in, tightening them all up and plugging in the connectors. So that's the ECU fitted. Now we move on to the brand new rocker cover. If you remember, we bought the new one because the breather system in the old one was bunged up. Just need to check all the holes are empty of oil, don't want any oil in there, and that the mating surfaces are nice and clean and dry. Just getting the trusty old scraper out again and scraping off some of the crud. There's quite a lot of dirt and stuff on there. Give it a quick wipe round with some cloth, give it a nice clean up. So we can then drop the cam cover back into place. It's a little bit tricky to get on around the wiring loom. You need to make sure the gasket stays flat. It's inserted in a slot inside the bottom half of the cover. It's also tricky to get under the left hand side where the rear timing belt cover plate is. And also a little bit tricky to get the holes all lined up, but just take your time, be careful. Once you get them in, do everything up finger tight, and then once that's done, you need to tighten them up in sequence, starting from the center and working out in a clockwise or anti-clockwise direction, and these need to be tightened to 7 Newton meters. So that completed, we put the coil pack back in. along with its 2 securing bolts. Again, these are tightened to 7 Newton meters, and that's not very tight at all. Although you don't see it in the video, I do go around and actually check all these bolts are to the correct torque. I do this on here because you want to get it tight enough to make a seal, to seal against the cylinder head, but obviously not too tight so you strip threads or crack the plastic cover. And now we reconnect the wiring loom, the connector, to the end of the coil pack. Put the oil filler cap back in, or back on rather. Fit the air intake pipe work. Now where it connects onto the throttle body, that bit I'm doing just there, it does need a Jubilee clip put around there, but I hadn't got one at the right size at the time, but we will put one on there eventually. Don't forget to connect the mass airflow sensor wiring back up. And then we top up the coolant. I'm just putting neat water in it here for now. I will be draining this off. Let's give the engine a little bit of a flush out. I will drain this off and top it up with the appropriate antifreeze mixture. Reconnect the battery. Again, doing the live terminal first. That way you avoid shorting the spanner out on any surrounding metalwork. Followed by the negative terminal. And that's reassembly complete. Right, so that is it for another episode, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys. Hope you've all enjoyed it. It is the last one before Christmas, so I'd just like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Thanks for supporting the channel so far. It's early days yet, but we're starting to make progress. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe down below. We will be putting out another video before the new year, so that's next Friday, which will be the 27th. Until then, it's goodbye from me.